day was an unforgettable day for Myra because his favorite type of car was added to his car collection that day. It was a Mini Cooper, a very beautiful car with a mix of red and white colors. Myra didn't actually have to pay a lot of money to buy it. However, after buying the car, he realized that he had to work very hard to buy such a vehicle. Another thing is that Myra is the second owner of this vehicle. In time like this, a vehicle like this sells quickly at this price and changes hands with many people. But the first owner of this vehicle is a businessman in a distant area. He has had this vehicle for a long time, about 50 years. But the vehicle has not been used for the last 25 years. However, the original paint and tires are still the same as when it was purchased. This man has repaired the vehicle year after year. The vehicle was in running condition. This old car was in much better condition than the other cars in Myra's collection. He actually thought the car was worth more than what he paid for it. Myra's friends also appreciated this vehicle, except for one friend. That Krishan said, "Man, there's something wrong with getting a vehicle in such good condition for that price." Even though the owner didn't say anything, this car has been driven a long way until now. I don't know who's lying, but please do some research. Myra didn't really have enough automotive knowledge to understand such a thing. Nor did he want to understand it. Myra's only goal was to buy a good vehicle for a low price. The new Mini Cooper was placed in a good spot in his garage. As soon as the garage door was open, Myra parked it in such a way that this vehicle could be seen. It was a large garage and Myra had collected many vehicles in it. It also created a good space for those who came to buy vehicle to view the vehicle. One day, Myra forgot to close the garage door. It wasn't a big problem because there were no problem from thieves. The next day, when Myra went to town, something strange happened. Myra met an old friend of his in town. He was also a car collector. "Hello, you bought the new car, right? This looks like a great car. I saw this car parked near the gate of your house yesterday evening," the friend said. Myra was very surprised by this story because he did not take this car near the gate yesterday evening. The car was still inside the garage, Myra thought, but even though the garage door was open, there was no one to take the car out because he lives in that house with his elderly parents. Both of them had left home from a trip by now. "There's no way the car could be near the gate," Myra said, because the car was already inside the garage. But the friend said that he had seen the car near the gate of Myra's house. This made Myra feeling strange. And he also remembered the story Kesara had told him. When Myra got home, he checked the vehicle. The door was locked. A few days later, Myra had to go on a trip. It was to his friend's house, not far from the town. Myra went on the trip in his Jeep. It was a party. He attended that party and then set off to return home. It was raining heavily at that time, so Myra drove the vehicle with some caution. He felt a little sick after having a few drinks with his friends. However, since it wasn't for home and there was no one home at that time, he drove the vehicle with caution and continued on. After about 2 kilometers, he felt very sleepy. He pulled over to the side of the road and stopped because his vehicle was about to hit a truck coming from in front of him. He opened the shutter of the vehicle and washed his face with the bottle of water kept inside the vehicle. Just then, Moira saw the new Mini Cooper he had bought coming forward with its headlights on. Moira was surprised to see this and couldn't believe it was his car. The license plate was the same, but he couldn't figure out who the driver of the vehicle was. At that moment, he became a little scared and nervous. He wondered if someone was still in the car. Myra came home as quickly as he could. The gate was closed when he left. No change. When he opened the garage door, the car was the same. It's strange that I am not in my right mind. So I must have been something else, Myra thought to himself. Myra also tried to close the garage door and open it again. He thought that someone was inside the garage. He looked around carefully, but then Myra was feeling a little scared. He went straight to the parked Mini Cooper. When the vehicle was about 10 feet away, Myra felt a strange fear. Myra's heart started pounding. He slowly put his hand on the radiator of the car. But at the same time, he felt a subtle electric current. So he suddenly removed his hand. The radiator was very hot, and Myra was very scared. A few minutes before he arrived, the car had been in the strange position for hours. Myra was surprised. No one was there to take the car out, and the car key was in his locker. Myra thought that someone had taken the car out while he was away. At first, he suspected that it was a man, but who was it? How did the car start? Myra wondered. What Kesara said was right. This car had been driven a lot. Myra wondered, but he couldn't find an answer. He locked the garage door and came out. He went inside the house and locked the door, very scared. By that time, his mother and father had gone out on a trip. He searched the entire house and finally came to his room for no reason. He searched his locker and found the key to all his vehicles in the locker. No one had taken them. Myra wondered how the car was taken out when the key was still there. There was no way to get the car out of the dead battery. While thinking this way, Myra fell asleep. He was very worried. He woke up around 2:30 a.m. It was because he heard a noise from the garage. Who was used to driving could recognize that noise. That was the sound of the Mini Cooper starting up. It was racing, just like someone was testing a car to see if it had any fault. He wondered what was going on inside the closed garage. He thought something strange was going on. He tried to call his friends and parents, but since it was 2:30 in the morning, everyone was asleep. He finally decided to go to the garage alone and look. There was a window at one end of the garage. Myra looked inside through that window without opening the garage door. He had left the light on inside the garage earlier, so he would be able to see if anyone was inside. He also took the torch he had in the house and went to that window through the back door. He got close the window after falling to the ground. It was 2-foot glass window with a single pane of glass. It was a window that allowed light to enter the garage. He leaned forward and looked inside. The light made it possible to see the vehicle inside clearly. The light from the 4 bulbs made it as bright as noon, but it was a little dark where the Mini Cooper was. But because of the dark shadow moving back and forth, Myra realized that someone was there. He could hear the sound of the car door and bonnet opening and closing. The car was barely visible, even if he climbed up to the window a little further. He could see clearly. The vehicle was about 20 feet away from where he was. The person inside saw the Myras getting scared. The Myra barely managed to avoid falling to the ground because the pile of grass there. He stood up with difficulty and slowly walked away from there. The person inside, knowing that the Myra was there, went to the window and looked outside. A very ugly face with melted flesh, a cap on his head and hair falling out, like a corpse. Myra ran out as fast as he could. No one was on the road. He heard the sound of the car starting from inside the garage. He thought the car would break through the gate and come out. He was scared. He thought that what Kesare had told him was true. When he walked a little distance, there was a small shelter. He used to look at the people at the shelter as if they were lonely. But that day he thought it was very worthwhile place. He spent time there until dawn and went home in the morning. The first thing he did was take the car outside and drop it off at the yard he knew. The owner of the yard didn't ask for detail, so Myra didn't have big problem. And Myra felt a great sense of relief. From that day on, Myra never went after cheap goods, and he researched a lot of details before buying a vehicle.